And the chain for you to stay the happiness can be found from the area around us, the area to joyful experience, the area to celebrate success, the area where I met someone. Now I know the area of the happiness is all around us. We have created a happy area for Thai people for over 35 years. Kenzai ties, beautiful, lasting beyond time.
Good evening, Pana, led Vice President NA Napi Navarra and to all the officers. Congratulations as we continue to adjust to the new normal. Hindi na adjust but really try, no? And very timely yung topic nyo ngayon. Working collaboratively or maximizing technology to collaborate remotely. And siguro, in our company, how can Cypress Bomanite or Bomanite help towards that? No? So first, you can really work with NAs and certifiers early on. No? I'd like to share an example. No? In China, this is Shanghai, even before the first floor of concrete was poured on site, we were vetting on the spec stage even 4 years prior to the start of construction. And we can do that also for you. We have done that in a few projects here in the Philippines. Really working so we can recommend the right product for you, no? On the decorative concrete painting. No? We can polish, we can grind, we can texture, put any color when the concrete is fresh, put concrete or put color when the concrete is dry or cured. We can restore all concrete. We can do horizontal, we can do vertical, we can do precast, we can do cast on sites. Ang lawak ng option because decorative concrete is very flexible. And we can maximize its benefit and value if we can really work early on during the design stage. No? So we really want to help and work with you. And second, we are coming here in the Philippines. No? We have a team of experts globally. No? We have Bomanite support from the US. And together with all the other 30 or more Bomanite licensees, no? So we can help, we collaborate to give you the best project possible. And to show that it's really possible, no? As recent as last Friday, we just had an annual awards of the Decorative Concrete Council of AACP, and we won an award here in the Philippines. We won second place for the best architectural concrete finish using stand watch, no, in one of the swimming pools in Glacier Residential Condominium by Mega World. Okay, hindi lang dito in the Philippines, no? We have an award in Vietnam led by another Filipino team. Okay, with our license there. They won second place for their project in the sailing club in Phuket doing concrete countertops. Yeah, so we will be showing some highlight pictures. And lastly, we also won second place in Qatar for their Kizania project. We also brought Filipino there to help jumpstart the new Bomanite licensing urban landscape. So we really want to ensure that we can give the best possible project to you, and we want to work with you as early as now when the project is still on the design stage. So hopefully we will be available, or hopefully we can help work with you for your next project. Again, congratulations to all the PALA officers on this webinar and all the other future activities of PALA.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to New Rules of Engagement, Remote Collaboration in Landscape Architecture Practice, a virtual discussion organized by the Philippine Association of Landscape Architects in partnership with Cubesystem Builders, Icon Concepts Manila, Cypress Bomanite, Playpoint Philippines, and Vertigo. I am your host, Pamela Pagana, current PALA Board Treasurer and member of the IFLA APR Subcommittee on Professional Practice and Policy. This lecture series is part of Focal Point, PALA's online discussion series on landscape architecture and other relevant topics. Learn more about Focal Point offerings by following us at our official Facebook page, Philippine Association of Landscape Architects. We are live streaming at Facebook via our official Facebook page and in YouTube. If you want to watch us at YouTube, just type in New Rules of Engagement Remote Collaboration in the search bar and you'll find our live video there. We hope you stay with us through the whole duration of the webinar so that you not only hear our guest speakers' insights but also ask them questions in our Q&A and get a chance to win one of the items in the video by Cubesystem and grab coupons from Cypress Bomanite. We'll be posting the mechanics on our Facebook page, so watch out for that. In post lockdown landscapes, we talked about how the pandemic has affected and changed the way people use shared outdoor spaces. Such knowledge proves essential as the users of space are an important consideration in our work as designers and managers of landscapes. This, however, is not the only thing that changed for us with the new world order brought by the pandemic. It also changed the way we conduct or practice as landscape architects. Even early on into the community quarantine, landscape architecture offices and individual practitioners were faced with the challenges of limited physical interaction and movement. To a profession that puts great importance on collaboration and site presence, such limitations prove to be major game changers and have compelled landscape architects to turn to technology assisted remote collaboration. Fortunately, while not yet widely used until very recently, this manner of conducting the practice is not entirely new. Many landscape architecture practitioners have been using it as part of how they work. This is especially true to practitioners involved in international collaboration, where either their clients or the project site is located abroad. In our final installment for Focal Point this 2020, we invited landscape architects based locally and abroad whose respective practices harness the power of technology to facilitate collaborative work that breaks through physical distance. The discussion aims to provide insight on the following: their motivations for integrating remote collaboration in their work, the challenges they encounter in their experience with remote collaboration, and how these are addressed. And lastly, the future of remote collaboration in the practice of landscape architecture. So, without further ado, we would like to introduce you to our first speaker. Let's welcome Ayra Santiago, landscape architect from GHD, Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. Hi, Ayra.
Hi, good evening to everybody who's watching and tuned in right now.
Okay. So, second is Byron Datinguinoo, a senior consultant in SIS3 Singapore. Hi, Byron.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Pam. Happy to see
Good
you.
evening.
Happy to be here.
Okay. So next is Julius Morgia, a landscape architect in RPS, located in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. Hi, Julius. Sir, wala, you don't have, we can hear you.
Yep.
Okay.
Hi,
Hello.
Pam, and everyone. Good evening.
Okay, thank you. So next, Neil Samak, Managing Director of Land Design 1, Singapore. Hi, Sir Neil.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, Pam and fellow speakers from Singapore.
And last but not definitely not the least, we have Dr. Takanori Fukuoka, Chair of IFLA APR Committee on Professional Practice and Policy. Hi.
Hi, good evening. This is Tak from Japan. I'm currently in Tokyo, but I've been around the different countries. So I'm looking forward to participate tonight and discuss a lot of things with you guys tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. So we will also have Davin Gaffud, design manager, principal director of Daylight Landscape Studios of Manila and Siargao, Philippines, for a special segment in tonight's discussion. Okay, so to guide you with our discussion, we have prepared four sets of questions to serve as discussion points among our guest speakers. After this, we will be showing the premiere of Insight on Site, where we interview resource persons on their work location to give relevant insight on the discussion. Then we will cap it off by picking 2 to 3 questions from the audience gathered before and during the program for our guest speakers to answer. Okay. For our first question, so are you ready? Okay. So
Yes.
first is
Sure.
tell us about the work you do and the ways in which remote collaboration is demonstrated in it. What are the different tools like gadgets, softwares, and apps or processes that you use for your remote collaboration? So who would like to answer first? How about you, Neil?
Me. Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Uh, well, I wasn't expecting that. Sure. Um, okay. Well, I had to go back when Land Design One was founded in Singapore. Three of us, Kate, myself, and Brian. The first, our first equipment or weapon of choice were MacBook, and Brian at the time was already based in Barcelona, in Spain. So from the start, we were designed to collaborate remotely. Um, and when we founded Manila, we had to expand that idea a little bit. We had this one office concept wherein, doesn't matter that we're geographically separated, but everybody should think that we're only in one office. And the way we made that happen is that, well, we use technology, but it's not really high tech. It was the technology that we could use because one, it was affordable and free at the time. Still, we use Skype for our inter-office communication, and then when we found Dropbox, they were just a year or so in the market, so they became our server. That Dropbox became our server. The way it works is that every morning, the team would say, whoever is awake first or in the quote unquote office first, just pings everybody good morning, and then the rest would follow. So essentially that's how we did it from the beginning until so when the pandemic hit, I think pretty much nothing changed in the way we work, except we do have a physical office. So in Manila we have a physical office. We couldn't go there, but we had to make adjustments, send equipment to our team, and that was it. We continued the way we operated. So that's how we use remote collaboration, even up to this point.
Okay, thank you, sir. So for your inputs. So we would also like to hear from Ira.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Well, I'm a landscape architect in GHD Abu Dhabi. As everyone, I hope majority knows, GHD is a global firm consultancy. So remote collaboration isn't that new of an idea to us. We work with our global offices from Australia, from Manila, from UAE, from UK. We have a global resources that are shared throughout. So somehow the remote collaboration is familiar to everyone. But when, as the same as the line design one team, when the pandemic hit, it had to take a different turn And like for me, I'm actually in Manila right now, but I'm working with the Abu Dhabi office. So as we were talking about it last night, I'm the ultimate what they call this remote collaborator because I'm working with Abu Dhabi projects, but I'm in Manila. So that's one of our setups, which is possible through many gadgets and softwares that the office have been providing. I have GHD laptop, which enables me to make internal and external conference calls through MS Teams. We were provided as well VPNs that enables us to access remotely and access our servers actually globally with secure access to our corporate networks. We can also do file transfers through GHT hosted file transfer, and we could also use OneDrives. And with regards to production as well, we were already using and we're familiar with BIM 360. So we've been dealing with Revit projects from conceptual till construction, and we have been collaborating and working hand in hand with Manila teams and Australian teams. So we have been using Beam 360 as well to enable everyone to provide and give their expertise to specific projects. And whenever we have ideas, we have global servers that would give access to these projects that would enable everyone to see where works have been done from the past and the previous and even the present ones. So yeah.
Okay. So for GHD, we have their own server or parang
Yeah.
or like
We have an
hosting.
existing in yeah, we have an existing infrastructure for that. So we have we have VPNs that enable us to access the global regional servers. And if a certain global office like maybe our Chile office would want an access to towards our folders, we could grant access to them and give the proper people the opportunity to access the files that they need.
Okay, that's very insightful.
Hmm.
So we also would like to hear from Julius from Australia, who's also in a different time zone.
Yep. So I've been with RPS for more than 3 years now. So I joined the company last 2017, and I'm involved in projects like master planning, greenfields, and um, mostly collaborating with urban designers and planners in our office. So I agree with Neil and Ira because before the pandemic, it's just like a normal thing for us. We go to office, do our stuff from let's say 8:30 to 5. I just want to share with you guys the setup that we have in our office. So after the pandemic, we are required to work at home. Um, so right now we need to file a form which is called Done Safe. So it's an online ergonomic and working from home assessment, which the office should test first if our place or our home is suitable to work actually. So I just want to give you some ideas on how it works. So first of all, no trailing leads that might make you trip over, something like that. The work area should be free of clutter as much as possible. And then, of course, the lighting, heating, and ventilation is also a big need in a work condition similar to your office. And of course, the rules in the office should also apply in your personal work station. And most important, I guess, is the posture and the layout of your workstation is a big yes as well. Regarding the the program or how we connect the server, because in the Australia place, the main office of Australia is in Brisbane. So that's it. So we were given three ways of how we can connect in the main server. If you have your own computer or your own desktop, for example, you can copy your documents through USB and then go back to your home and do your stuff. Or you can have your own, you can connect your VPN to our office. But the downside on that one, while you're working on that one, is that you cannot copy or work on big files. You can only work on small files like that. And then the last part is you can take your home from your computer and work at home. And that's what I did for the past 3 months. Um, Regarding the programs that we normally use in the office, we have Office 365 for emails, Word, the basic Microsoft stuff, Word, Excel. I also have that downloaded on my smartphone. Um, from time to time, I can check my emails. Currently, we're using Microsoft Teams. Before we have Skype, but then the IT department changed it to Microsoft Teams, so we can join meetings, communicate with other consultants and clients through that. So, meaning chat calls, video calls, or voice calls. And then for some creative programs, we have Adobe Creative Cloud, and then Blue Jeans for bigger or larger number of participants in a conference room. Similarly with Ayra, we're now doing some Revit works as well. So it's both CAD and Revit. And then lastly, I would like to point out that we're in the direction of doing some Lumion projects now for 3D and graphical presentations for our clients. So that's it.
Okay, thank you, Julius. So I think aside from the apps or softwares that you have to install in your laptops, your workspace at home should also be a good venue for a work from home setup, as what
Of course.
Julius said a while
Yep.
ago.
Yep.
So how about you, Byron? What's your insight about this one, or what do you
Okay.
use?
Okay. Just a background first. No.
Okay.
So yeah, I work as a landscape architect and an urban designer for an independent consultancy company based here in Singapore. We offer strategy, planning, and design, but our main office is located in Australia, and majority of the team there is based there. So our company is medium sized, probably around now 500 plus people, and we're only 12 here in Singapore. But and we trade as Urbis in Australia. So the team is multidisciplinary here in Singapore. We're designers, we're economists, and also landscape architects and architects. But mostly in Australia, for example, all of the offices there in Brisbane, in Melbourne, in Perth, in Sydney, and Gold Coast, there are planners, researchers, heritage specialists, architects, engineers, graphic designers. So it's a mixed bag. And one of the challenges, of course, of that is, collaboration, right? So the company, as a first, uh, before this pandemic, we already rolled out Teams, Microsoft Teams, and all of the programs under it. Um, so all the PowerPoint, all the Word file, all of those things, the images, the file storage are in OneDrive, or so everything is stored there. So we tried to practice that, I think, last September. So we rolled it out all across the company, and that helped us um, in during the pandemic as well, because we're already practiced on that. In terms of the process that we followed when the pandemic actually came, and everybody has to do the remote collaboration, usual process is still followed. For example, in terms of meeting, we do the virtual calls, um, um, but because we're pushing for our practice is more in terms of collaboration. We need to interact. Like, for example, we need to point in this plan, where will that wall go, or where will that planter go. So things like these, small things like these, is very important for us. And I think Teams helped on that, like because you can control the mouse and things like that. You can do it live instead of just sending a paper with all the comments on it, a scanned paper. So simple things like that. And I agree with Julius also. It's almost the same because Julius also works in an Australian company, and most of these things, and also Ira's, with all her central location of the files, it's almost the same. But I would also like to add that I think that I like also that uh, is provided to us our weekly meditation classes. It's a bit unrelated, but I think it's really important. Virtual meditation classes, and also we have an not really an in-house, but we have a psychologist that you can consult, you can talk to, so that with the pandemic, and the talk about depression. So yeah, I think that's one of the things that helped us weave through this pandemic. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, thank you, Byron. So I think I like the part that you are really you really consider the health conditions or the well-being of your of the employees of your company. So that's one of the effects that we should consider in remote collaboration also,
Yeah,
since we
agree.
don't see each other daily.
Mm,
Yeah, and
mm,
we all only see each other in virtually. So aside
yeah.
from that, we would like to thank you, Byron, for that. So aside from that, we would like to hear an insights and observations in with regards to IFLA APR region from Dr. Tak from Tak. Hi, sir. Yes.
Yeah, you can just call me Tak. So
Tak. Okay, Tak.
let me talk about my background. My background is a landscape architect, and I'm currently teaching in Japan. But before that, I was practicing in Germany. I was based in Germany, and the company was called formerly called Atelier Dreiseito, but now it's called the Studio Rambo Studio Dreiseito, based in Denmark. And we had an office in Singapore, Beijing, and formerly in Portland and Germany. So I think it was around 2010 to 2013-ish. So it's still a bit long ago, but we had a lot of online collaboration with many consultants all over the world. And like other people said, we use Skype, and we had a one server to exchange the files. So it was interesting that when I finished the work in Germany and sent it to Singapore and Beijing, so they're actually like a drawing could like automatically get updated in 24 hours when I get into next morning. So there's a new drawing which is kind of like it's constantly like being updated. So which was interesting, and I think a point of remote work I found was it's very important to really um, make sure that we understand each other when we talk online. I feel like like we understood each other, but at the same time it's always I found out that 1 week later, like what we confirmed on the Skype was missing in a drawing set or something like that. So I always try to make sure that after conference call or after Skype, I always try to write very simple message and also send like email or like with a very simple drawing, and like we talked about that or something like that. So it was important for me to really confirm. And also, physical meeting was very important. So I flew to China or the other country once in a while to really meet with the collaborator to make sure that we know each other personally and have a dinner and get to know other people, not just work. So I think like it was in a topic about the health. I think I always get angry by someone who I always wanted to talk about the work, but they oh wait, we just want to talk about a little bit about what you did and what you did on the weekend, and let's start with a fun conversation. So that was a good uh, online working method that I learned. Then now I'm teaching at university, so we use Zoom a lot. And the problem is that I faced with 100 something students, and some people are not comfortable to showing their face. So it's very difficult to try to communicate and reach to them deeply. So I try to send very graphical or documents materials and try to get the feedback on time. But at the same time, after class, I try to have a more interaction with them. But it's very time consuming and very difficult to
Mhm.
perfect communication. So to me, right now it's very chaotic. We have a Skype, Teams, and Zoom, and a lot of different gadget and apps. And I always try to adjust to the client, students, and other people who want to use this and that. But I think I'm hoping that I think we have a next round and have a much more convenient and a good application to be able to have a much better communication with the other people. I think in pandemic period in Japan, a lot of government officers and other people who never use online started to use this online system. So still, we are at the very beginning of this communication. So I'm really struggling with that. So I'm really looking forward to listen to other people's way of communicating. So that's all for now.
Thank you, Tak. So, I think it's really also important, as what Tak said, that communication, or how do you communicate your design, or your insights about anything, and to connect personally with the person you are talking to. Since it's virtual, it's more, we need to take an effort to make them understand what we are saying, or let them interpret in a right way what we are telling them. So that's really important also. So to proceed, we would like to go to our next question. So next is, what are the challenges you have or you continue to encounter in your experience with remote collaboration, and how did you or do you address them? Okay, so um, does anyone would like to go first, or you have already an insight about it? Byron.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Um, okay. So challenges. It's given that not all people are used to working from home and would still prefer working in the office for maximum productivity. It differs really, right? And in some cases, like here in Singapore, where there are fewer cases since going down, now the government is allowing sometimes people to go back to work in their office, but they need to be separated into teams. Like there's team A and team B, so that there will be a staggered schedule and there will be lesser interaction between these two teams. Um, so that's a good thing, of course. But this is easier for people who are more mobile in terms of their hardware. People like who just have their laptops. But for designers like us or people in our practice who typically have big setups, like you need this big PC because hardware. It's either you work entirely at home or entirely from the office. So that's the first challenge that I think I personally encountered. Immobility. Um, if you're given that you, for example, right now, you're working half from home and half in the office. So um, how did I overcome that? For example, because another challenge on that is that if you're all entirely working from home, right? Sometimes there are challenges on it's not really the ideal setup. There, you don't have a proper desk. You sometimes you don't feel that uh, you're working. So how did I overcome that? Again, first, one of my colleagues suggested that have some kind of ritual or something that, for example, you need to turn on in the morning. Um, do something that you feel like you've started the day. Um, for example, if you do it in the office, like have your cup of coffee, do it, or you need to gussy up or have a shower first. Do that first thing in the morning. That's consistent every day. So that will help you overcome that kind of challenge. Um, in terms of working with other people, try to have a fixed weekly schedule to discuss the task with the team. I think it's a given also, but preferably first day of the week. And it's also important that at home and in the office, you have been provided or you have the necessary hardware if budget allows for both office at home. And then um, at the end of the week, for example, you need to catch up with your managers or your team so that this will allow some structure around working remotely, but gives the team enough flexibility that for the team that has challenges, and this fosters accountability on each of them or each of us. And that's where, for example, the Microsoft Teams and this virtual calls is very helpful in accessing your PC from the office uh, to your home, and then from your home to office, because that's one this is second challenge that I encountered is I think Julius mentioned that a while ago that transfer files. We don't have the PowerPoint files that typically is available in Teams that you can access via Cloud Live, and you can edit them live with other people. But ours is like AutoCAD with all these XREFs, InDesign with all these links, big pictures, and everything that ideally they should be in a one desktop. But I think right now, just recently, Adobe Cloud has allowed that because you can access your file in your PC, in your home PC, and also in your home office, given in your office, I mean, given that you have the license, of course, and also the files are all in the cloud. So I think we're moving there, and it's good to know that the technology is moving towards that direction that helps every one of us, especially in our practice, to overcome these challenges. So yeah, that I think is on my insight on that part.
Yeah. Okay. I can relate. Actually, I can relate to the challenges that Byron mentioned,
Mm,
especially to the part that we have the mobility of working from home and working
yeah,
at the office. Since currently we have a
yeah,
schedule to meet, to go to the office and then work from
yeah.
home. So, uh, thank you, Byron, for that.
Sure.
So next, we would like to hear from Julius.
Okay. Regarding this question, um, I was really thinking about the challenges because even before the pandemic, there has been so many challenges that's happening. But just to answer this question, the first thing that really stuck in my mind is not having a printer or a big scanner is really, really a big challenge. It's really difficult to design, especially on if you want to sketch. Um, for example, I need to still scale my digital plan to 100% or whatever scale is needed, then lay over, trace again, screen, and then back and forth with base plan to and then sketch it over. Um, Another thing that I can think of is marking up and reviewing the plans over the screen. I kind of find it quite challenging because I'm used to work full time in the office, and then the pandemic happened. So I think oftentimes the having hard copy is more accurate in reviewing the plans or drawings than the digital stuff or screen. Another thing for me is designing as a team is harder over Teams, Skype, or
Uh,
whatever platform that you have, or video calls, or whatever you call it. I believe there is always something that is lost in the process. And another thing that I want to share to you guys is that working from one state server to another is quite challenging as well. Imagine working from home. Um, I have the opportunity to work with other offices, regional offices, for example, in Townsville or Mackay. And their server there is not that, let's say, so fast compared to Brisbane, Sydney, or Melbourne. So imagining working from home and then I need to connect to their server. It's really not that fast. So I think the for my last note here is that communication also is a big challenge here. Um, it it takes a little bit longer to explain um, your 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 process that you want in Teams. Um, I call it a technology barrier that is similar to, let's say, a language barrier. Given that landscape architects are generally visually people, but we can address this through mixing medias like sharing screens, sending photos or sketches, and also regularly checking with people on how we progress and something like that.
Okay. Thank you, Julius. So I think you're right, no? It's really hard to collaborate or share your ideas, especially when you're working remotely in terms of design. So you have to be knowledgeable about technology on how to point or how to show or let them know what your design is or what you want to show them or let them understand your ideas. So
Yep.
next is Tak. Do you have any insights on this also?
Yeah, so I think everybody is practicing, and I also try to talk today not about the education, the practice side of me. I think to me, like Julia said, I'm maybe old person, a little bit like old school. So I always wanted to have a physicality of what we do. So I print out and check the scale. And also, when you're looking at the construction documents, you want to look at the plan first, and then you click through and look at the detail and go
Yep.
back to plan and something like that. So in online, you can click, click, click. But I think that kind of a experience it really like stays with my like a body as an experience. So I really wanted to confirm the physical side of it. So the making model and confirm with the model and stuff like that. So my struggle is that's my sort of a way of working. But when I work with the younger generation, like just fresh to work, they are just fine with they live in the 3D and then they can figure out everything in three-dimensional ways. So they ask me, why do I have to print out? Or like you can see on the screen, and it's maybe different kind of a sensitivity or sensibility they have, and that's something I try to respect them and try to coexist with a different way of online working folks. So that's my
mm,
struggle first. And second one is the construction observation, construction administration. Usually when I have a project outside of Japan, so outside of Germany, when I lived in Germany, you I always did with photos and observer on site, and they write me a report. But there was only some photos, then I cannot see everything. So that was a very frustrating part. But that after pandemic situation, I think we have a same, and we cannot go to construction sites. So some people said that they can use the camera or video and they can, show you around, and then you can say, oh, fix that, and this is not right or something like that. But I'm wondering how you guys are doing construction observation or construction administration remotely. So if you guys know any good ideas, I'd love to know. So that's my point. Thank you.
Thanks, Tak. Actually, for construction ideas, same with Julius and you. I prefer printing it out,
Old
and
school.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's really different when you see it or holding it, the plan, instead of just looking at the screen. But good thing with Tak is that he has the opportunity to learn from his students,
Mhm.
their 3D visual presentations.
Mhm.
So thank you for that. So next is we have Neil.
Yeah. Okay. I I just like to note the contrast of offices. All of you guys are working in very big offices, so um, the your communication, your file systems, and all that definitely you have that how do you call this integrated in the office already. They have they really spend on that, especially the big offices because of securities, also of information. For us, we like I said, we use tech, but not in a very high tech manner, right? I mean, we use it in a way it's supposed to function like Skype. It's a basic communication tool. Dropbox essentially does all the file handling that what Byron, Ayra, and that mentioned. For us, we resolved that early on. We had the same problem before because these are usually big files are very hard to store in your laptop, and you're going to run out of space. So when we found an iCloud server Dropbox, then that solved a lot of things for us, and it's easier because it once you what do you call it? Once you update a file, everybody's updated. Except one of the challenges that we have with our Manila office is the disparity of the internet connection. In Singapore, we have a very fast connection, but of course, in Manila, we all know that that's not the case. So there is a lag. It gets updated, but we have to wait for a bit. So real-time update, especially of big files, was a challenge. But I'd like to go back to what Jeff said. When you start, when we were beginning, when we began the firm, we were mostly working from home. We had a small office, but it just it scared space. So mostly we work from home. Like you said, start your day. A good start is coffee, and then a shower, dress up as if you're going to the office every day. So that's one. When you're at the office, you find a way to focus. Um, of course, in the team, for remote collaboration to work for us, we're a very small team. Everybody has to be a professional. Essentially, we're all professionals. You don't have to be told what to do. You know your job, then everybody just does it, and constant communication. Our Skype is always online. Anybody who has a question about what we're doing can just ping a person or ping the project chat, and a minute or so, then somebody will whoever is involved will answer. In terms of checking of drawings, site, we also experience that. We still do. Like Tak and Byron, I'm also old school, but over time I've overcome that. because being in a small office, you have to think of your of printing costs, and time, scan. So we cut the workflow. Right? I can bring my whole office in my backpack and go anywhere, any location, and work. Check drawings, do design, everything. How does that happen? Well, I use a MacBook, and the iPad has grown leaps and bounds over the years of technology. Now we can use it as a tablet. So I have an app there called Portfolio where you can, um, that function that you do when you're checking drawings or doing designs where you put in the tracing paper and sketch over it. You can do that exactly either via Photoshop or the app we're using called Morpholio, and instantly send it to whoever needs it. So it used to be that if you're traveling to to a project anywhere in the world, you have to bring a whole luggage of markers and papers, your prints and all that.
Yeah.
So we've gotten rid of that. Uh, and we can do everything digitally, no scanners, no printing. So we save money on that. We save time. Uh, and even during meetings, when somebody needs a set, I sketch it out in an iPad. Then I just show him, is this what you want, or is this what you mean? Okay, and he'll ask me to send it to him, and we can send it right then and there. For site visits and all that, whether in the pandemic or during normal times, I mean, you can't be at two places at one time. We had a challenge. So in Singapore, the flow of information is very fast because everybody can reach you via WhatsApp, Viber. So, for example, one client is at the site and I'm at another meeting, and he would say, "Can you come?" Of course, you can't. So he'll just shoot me a picture of whatever he's asking and said, "What do we do here?" And from your iPhone, you can actually do the sketch on the photo and then you send it back to him. Is this what you mean, or is this what you want? Then, okay, this is what we do. So, you know, so I guess some of these issues we kind of got used to it, even to the point of um, checking construction documentations. We've avoided printing reams of paper. This costs a lot. If you're gonna you're gonna go through several passes of drawings, and you're gonna print several times. And this one we wanted to avoid because obviously, being a small office, we're controlling our costs, so we do it online PDF. And obviously, our Manila office can just send a whole ream of paper to us. That would be at more cost, right? So we do red markings on PDF using Preview or Adobe Reader or Adobe Acrobat. Goes back to the team. They sift through it. It's not perfect. There will be hits and misses, but you just do your due diligence, check again, and you go several rounds of that free of paper. So I guess, yeah, those are some of the solutions that we found for these challenges. Yeah.
Good thing about Neil, their office has slowly adjusted, or is already adjusted to the setup of working from home, and even lessen their cost in printing.
This is
So that's really nice to hear.
experimentation over the years. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's really a good solution and advice to our viewers, especially that most of them are practicing solely or in a small firm or office.
Yeah.
So, Shep, of course, we would like to hear from Ayra.
Yeah, I guess all the speakers have tackled the most of the constraints, if not all. I guess I'll just talk about my experience. Um, On the first part of the pandemic, we were not actually. It was a bit of a fast fast paced life before, but then when the pandemic hit, we were required to go back to our houses, be isolated, and that's where my greatest challenge is the balance of work life and the personal life is where do you draw the line? Because I live alone in UAE, so the consideration with regards with your emotional, mental, and physical health. That's one of the things that I really struggled on when the pandemic hit. So what I did was at first I tried to just work because I'm just alone. What do you do? That's the most common problem I guess that happened is you don't know when to stop, especially when you're a bit of a workaholic. You don't know when to stop working. And oftentimes we do have overtimes, but when we started working from home, we have overtimes. We started working 12 hours, 15 hours. And then that's when we acknowledge that, hey, something must be done here, and I'm glad that our office addresses these things. We have this bi-weekly check-ins with our small groups in the office. With those check-ins, you could say whatever your concern is. Um, we also have monthly check-ins with our whole department and with our we also have this virtual tea time for the whole GHD office. So we were kept up to date. We were assured that we are doing something on it. We our office have also this initiative for physical activity. We have online workouts just to break the monotonous life that we are having because we are all in isolation. And especially there's a difference between working at home with your family and working at home alone. When you're working at home alone, your greatest problem I guess is you're alone and you're working too much. But when you're with your family, there comes in your domestic chores, kids walking around, you're playing two roles at once. uh when you compare it, when you're in the office, you're just a landscape architect in the office, but when you're at home working from home, you're a landscape architect, you're a mom, you're a sister, you're everything at once. So that's one of the challenges. But as time goes by, I guess people adapted to it, and we have worked on strategies to have schedules like what Byron was saying. Um, what else? We wanted to be mindful of what we're doing, and we wanted to make sure that our health is somehow prioritized as well. Even though the clients didn't stop the projects, the clients are kept on asking for this and that. We do have deadlines, yes, but we also do have lives to live. So that's one of the things that we needed to consider. With regards to the more on a lighter note, one of the greatest things I guess that we had to address was communication, because we were like what the other speakers have tackled. Communication is one of the key to success, as we could say. We were so used to having everything together, face to face discussions, and it was a challenge deviating from normal visual communication techniques like drawing, marking up on a set of drawings that were printed, versus speaking on Teams, wherein in Teams you can't read there. Yeah, I agree with Julius. There's barrier, technological barrier in there, and that's where frustration comes in, and everyone's already stressed. Plus, we have the stress of the frustration of not having our thoughts communicated. So, but as people, again, we adapted. We found out there are plugins that we could use. There are like the snipping although it's a bit rough, that wherein you could mark up stuff that are shared on screen. um and the PDF tools, comments, and the likes. And it's always nice that you know that you could always say what you're thinking to your peers. If you have any concern, you could talk to someone, even if it's personal concern. Or there was a time I didn't have enough internet connection in UAE. Uh, uh, I talked to my seniors about it and everything, and everyone was receptive of it, and they knew the constraints that everyone was having, so it was understandable. And but here comes the thing that it it changed the people and the management of the people in our team. Instead of having everything micromanaged, that you have to trust now your teammates that they're doing their job. We're now output oriented, and a weekly or bi-weekly check-ins would be enough. It develops your trust with each other, and trust with yourself as well, because you had to manage that you have to deliver these things in accordance with all the contracts and the deadlines that you're having, albeit the pandemic that's happening. So, yeah.
Thank you for that, Ira. Actually, I agree with the part that also with the part that it's really a challenge on how to delineate work at home and your engagement with your family or friends socially and with the household chores or anything that you have to do at home. So in connection with our third question, so let's proceed with that. How has the pandemic affected your engagement in remote collaboration? Did your experience with remote collaboration pre-pandemic affect your response to the prevalent blurring of work and non-work, as mentioned by Ira a while ago? So first, back.
Well, I think this question, I think, continues from the previous one, and to me, honestly, not really much changed because I locate at the university, but I also have my office at I have a shared office in central Tokyo area. So I work at the many different locations, and I'm always on remote with students and other client and collaborators. So to me, um, it's it was all right to work in this way, but I think changed in engagement. I think when I cannot see people physically, so that was most difficult part of communicating. So I tried to find many different places, and in Japan, in Tokyo, when the pandemic was severe, we could not meet each other. But I think when this didn't go so difficult conditions. So gradually, I started to use the outdoor space. So my office actually have a courtyard, which is not that big, but we have a table and we have a chairs. So I invite them to only like 2 or 3 people to like physically meet with them, and it was open there. And in Japan, the summer was really hot this summer time. But I think I really wanted found myself that I really wanted to be in different locations. And also even just I'm doing online and remote communication, but I just discovered myself that I just don't want to be stuck in one place. I really wanted to enjoy the different spaces. So in Japan, it's it's a booming of a new kind of a semi offices in suburbs or near where you live, because of the reason that you have families or you have other people in your house, so you can not really focus on your remote things. So people are really wanting to have a third place, which is not the new ideas, but I think it's kind of interesting for our landscape architects to think about new way of working, and but still not just in one room like I am right now, but I really want it to be terraces outside or a courtyard or a garden. So I really tried hoping that like we can find a new way about really fun satellite way of working, and maybe landscape architects can contribute to setting up a new open air office or semi-open air office or something like that. That's something that I'm thinking right now at the university, to have an open air classroom. But the university people always say, I don't think it's working or something like that. But I think thinking about something like that will make me really happy. And I think we should also discuss that kind of side, what we can do as a landscape architect. So that's my response to your question.
Thank you, Tak. I think you're right, no. Even if you are used to working at home or remotely, this pandemic has challenges that in terms of social interaction with other people, and if you even if you're working alone, you still want to see other people. Um, and I think the open air classroom is really a good idea. So I hope your university could consider that. So next would like to hear from Julius. So yeah.
Okay. So regarding this question, I think even before pre-COVID, I think pairing with the right people, with the right projects would result into good working team dynamics. And then, of course, that will lead to good result of the projects. Um, Working remotely has been a commonplace for our office and the discipline. So, given the regional location of Australia, so the collaboration of regional offices between cities and cities, I think, has been the key factor here in keeping all the offices successful in some instances. Um, Personally, a key motivator for me is the skill and knowledge sharing, keeping up to date with common practices, rules, and regulations, but also with the latest trends in landscape architecture. I think after the pandemic, reducing the commute to meetings, and easier communication discussions through video and sharing screen time. And when you attend meetings that do not need your full attention, you are able to work on other items while listening on it. So, for example, I have a meeting that does not really require me full time while on Teams. So I think because I have two monitors at my place here, so one is Teams, and then the other one is I can do, for example, CAD or Photoshop or Lumion, for example. So I think um, I can be more on multitasker, if that makes sense. So that's only my contribution here.
Okay, thank you for that, Julius. So we'd like to hear another insight from Neil.
Um, well, I guess for my team, the main thing is that our physical office was closed in Manila, so they had to go home. We had to send the equipment with them because some are desk based. Um, I think that one major thing that in one of our town halls we do every now and then just to say hi. Um, One of our team members mentioned that she had to change her working hours because not obviously not everybody has. If you have several people at home, it's pretty hard to find corner where there's quiet. So you know, in they adjusted to work in the early mornings instead, so that it's quiet and the whole house is theirs. I do that too. Although there's only me and my wife at home, and we kind of share a quote unquote office now. she has one room as her office, and I have another part of the house as hers. So that's one of the weird thing that we got used to in the last few months. Um, in terms of uh, blurring of work and non-work, I think we've resolved that over the years. Like I said, we've adjusted quite well to being a small team, and we and being able to work mostly anywhere. Uh, we've sort of adjusted to that, except some like I said, not everybody has the space at home. That's the only thing. It's having that work from home situation can be an issue for other team members. I guess that's it.
Thank you for that, Neil. So, for this question, we also like to hear from Byron.
Thanks, Pam. So I just wanted to just put some continuity on what has already been answered, right? So the practice even before the pandemic, as Ira said, um, into slowly moving into flexible work hours, remote collaboration. This has already been floating around since last year, past few years. But because of this, the pandemic, everything went just fast, and because we don't have a choice, and all the processes need to change. So personally, like, how does it affected me and my engagement with this new remote collaboration thing? Personally, getting used to Skype or Teams call is hard for me because I'm not that much of a phone call person or a Skype person, because I prefer facing the person I'm talking to personally. Um, but I have to adjust, right? And some of these adjustments are interesting because a lot of these adjustments are happen quickly. Um, Number one, meetings right now tend to be much quicker and more productive, I would say, at least in my experience, which is good. A few reasons I think that arose from that is because most of the people that you will have this virtual meeting with probably or most probably will have another meeting, right, throughout the day. Everybody's in remote collaboration now, right? And secondly, all of us, or most of the time, we have to work with other time zones, at least some of us. So we have to match that schedule. So actually matching the schedule with another person who's on a different location, other part of the world. And thirdly, pretty much most of the people or some people just got fed up on back-to-back virtual meetings. So I think it's good that before meetings, sometimes we think of it like, boring and long meeting, but I think yeah, it has made virtual meetings much better. So secondly, on the question, did it affect me? For the most part, yes. It allowed my adjustment on communication, and another example is I tried to buy a printer at home so that as relating to what Julius has said, that sometimes it's better to print things, right? So I tried that, but interestingly, I didn't really use it. I worked around using the computer. Sometimes I sketch just to, the feel of having something you draw and design on paper is still much more powerful than actually drawing in CAD or any other software. But for the most part, as the others have said, that uh, we have moved pretty quickly on this. And on another interesting thing, as well as actually right now, I just moved flat. I just moved flat. So last week. So one thing that I considered is the location and also the office workspace. So we have to consider that as well. And in how your home office, or even if it's not a home office, it's where you will work at home. So yeah, that's my to answer all your questions.
Okay, thank you, Byron. So, moving
Yeah.
forward to your answers and our discussion, would like to. Our next question is: what are your thoughts on the future of remote collaboration and the practice of landscape architecture? So, Ira.
Well, I think one thing's for sure, it's here to stay. And if not, it's gonna develop over time. I'm excited to see where technology would take us. And the world is getting smaller actually because of this. And ideas are getting shared easily. Um, it gives us freedom as well, and it opens more doors for people, especially here in the Philippines. We get to interact with the whole wide world, as they say. So it's a great opportunity. We just have to know and acknowledge how to use it on our benefit, for our benefit. So yeah.
Thank you, Ira. So, Tak, how would you like to add?
Yeah, I think for future collaboration, I cannot imagine a lot about the future right now. But I think for now, I'm hoping that I can communicate with like multiple parties at the same time. Right now, I feel like my limit of a meeting online and have an engaged conversation is maybe 10 people or less. And if you have more than that, I think it's a little bit difficult to have an engagement. So it's not really future, but I think a point of really having a successful online communication is have a very good facilitator or moderator who can really navigate a smooth conversation. I think it's a little bit different from physical meeting. In Japan, everything is done in very formal setting, so people are always being really quiet. Like some people even just don't never talk for like entire 2 hours. So I don't really like that kind of way of communicating. And I think especially maybe it's different in Philippines, but I think in Japan it's changing way of meeting and discussing and also meeting people online or offline. I think that's a wonderful thing for us to become more active and more independent. And I think, like Neil said, it could be more smaller practice. It's not just one big company have a 200 employee, but I think have a more individual thousands of a very small landscape architecture offices working independently and have a very successful way of working. So that might be an ideal way that we practice. So I think it's not just I'm not answering straight to your question, but I might be transforming the way we work, and maybe we don't need a lot of people. You can maybe work more independently. So that's a future that I really uh, think it's gonna happen. And also, just looking into my students, online course and online communication will make students more active. That's what I discovered. So they really have to talk. They really have to, use the hand or try to uh, inform you what they are thinking, and I always have to inform them what I'm thinking. So I'm hoping that maybe there are a better way to really, inform how I feel or how I think more effectively by using online communication. But that's something that I really have to learn, especially like online workshop, community workshop, and citizen participation. How do you communicate with like 200 people, 300 people at the same time? So that's something I'm not really experienced well. So I'm looking forward to learn that kind of difficult communication and hoping that technology can solve some of it. But yeah, that's my answer for your question.
Thank you, Tak. So next, Byron.
Okay. Yeah, so the future of remote collaboration in our practice, landscape architecture, I must say, is very exciting. At the top of my mind, um, uh, augmented reality and virtual reality is already in the works, AR, VR, and I hope it will be further developed. Newer work environments, for example, virtual gatherings, eh, can give us, that shared space. We already have that, right? What we're doing now, but in a more maybe sophisticated way with the speed of how technology is advancing. Actually, a lot of video games are like this already with MMORPGs and all these things. You have your own character, but maybe how do we apply this in our landscape architecture in our practice? Because going back, one of the challenges that we have, I don't think it has been mentioned, is site visits. We right now site visits is not very possible. You want to go to the site, but you cannot go. So in my case, some of our clients just send pictures, or we just go to Google Maps, Google Street View. That's the best that we can do. But maybe in the future, we can do a virtual site visit, create a virtual space for everyone to be there, have the street level view or whatever. The site can be projected there. If you design, once you design, you project your design there, and everybody will be there in that space. You can do virtual workshops. You can probably touch the surfaces of your paving, or you know anything is possible in a virtual space. So, but yeah, I think that's a exciting future for remote collaboration.
Very futuristic, Byron. So next is on Neil.
Yep. I well, I recently I just received an email from a site furniture supplier, and the email said we'd like to set up a virtual meeting. Which I haven't said it. I found it really. I still find it weird. So, but I think that's where we're going, and this is going to stay because one, it's going to save a lot of people the time to commute and actually to communicate. It's especially for meetings like that where you can actually present your product on the screen without you're there but you're not there. But I still like the idea of shaking hands with the person and meeting them, right? Having a coffee and like that. But like I said, this might be here for a while. And on what Jeff said or Byron said earlier, visiting the site in the future, maybe you have your VR goggles and somebody is flying a drone in the site and you're walking the site via drone. It's possible. It's been and many of the graphic software that we're using, like Lumion and Twinmotion, actually have this function already. You can send a file to a client or use a virtual goggle with them, and they can actually be in your design in areas you design. That that's happening for some of the bigger offices probably. So yeah, for us, I guess we're gonna continue to improve on what we're doing. Like I said, we started from scratch already using remote collaboration, and we've been okay so far in a low tech kind of way, but so it's going to stay.
Thank you, Neil. Of course, Julius, I'd like to hear from you.
I just like to add a few items from that was said earlier by our speaker. So I think the the key here is higher speed and more reliable internet is a must, like Neil said
Mm.
earlier. So also, I think it will continue to become more widely accepted, and people will adapt to working remotely, and I think become more efficient and efficient with communication there. So a few weeks ago, we received an email from the office regarding our options of working remotely. Um, the purpose is to set out for requests for flexible working arrangements and a range of flexible options. So that could mean you can change your working days, working hours, or location of work, from full time to part time, or working outside of core hours. Um, I think I think also that everyone has learned so much about collaborating remotely for the past um, 6 months or so, and I believe we all have an opportunity to embrace the benefits, hopefully encouraging a work-life balance. But for me personally, there's nothing quite the same as having a face-to-face collaboration around a pile of a butter of butter paper, tracing paper. So
Mm,
hopefully the future sees a happy medium between the two.
nice.
Thank you, Julius. So, thank you very much for that very insightful and wonderful discussion. So, we'll hear more from our guest speakers as they answer questions from the audience. But before that, we'll be presenting our first Insight On-Site episode where we feature landscape architect Davin Gaffud, who's currently based in Siargao Island. Davin has also used and continues to use remote collaboration in his practice as a landscape architect. We ask him some of the questions we asked our guest speakers, and we share some of his insights through this presentation.
One on top of my list is, of course, I can work anywhere I want, everywhere I want, anytime I want. This is the main reason. Um, Having the lifestyle of wanting to travel every time, having fresh air, um, having not having to struggle with traffic every day. This is I think I've designed my career in such a way that I can work remotely. Working remotely, I'm not limited to talents who are available within my vicinity. Especially here, we don't have much architects or draftsmen in this particular island. Everyone's in the city. So it's very important for me to tap people from different parts of the country. In Manila, Quezon City, in Laguna, in Cebu. And, I can also save money in terms of looking for different people who can help me uh, win projects or try to execute projects. And they don't have to be really expensive because their overheads as well are I mean minimal because they just stay home and then they don't have to to travel all the way to the office, so they're happy to do and to work and collaborate remotely, and they're happy to work from home anyway. I'm also not limited to my clients, so having that that ability to digitize all my work and do comments digitally as well, I am able to win clients not just here in the Philippines but also abroad. Boundaries are endless. We have the slow network, especially here, as I've mentioned earlier. You have your technical limitations, uh, and also have lack of personal human interaction, which leads to miscommunication. Like there, for example, I've known I've known myself to work really uh, I'm very straightforward when it comes to do, uh, doing my comments in terms of the drawings, in terms of how I want to implement things. So there was a time that my teammate got really pissed off with how I would email my instructions. But on the other side, on my side, I meant really nothing. I'm just being straightforward. So people may not be able to understand you on the other end of the line. I also uh, get um, responses not on time. Sometimes because I don't know what's happening on the other side of the line. Response and replies and drawings may or may not come in time. It's unpredictable. It's sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Well, that's part of the whole package of working with someone who you may not be able to see because unlike in a typical office setting, you actually kind of share the same pace or same vibe because you see each other and you interact with one another. Working remotely, it just takes it off. And lastly, I have to understand that all people are of the same level of techiness as I have. Like for example, I am dealing with a client in New York, and I'm letting her uh, get my drawings from Google Drive, and since she's a little bit older than I am, she probably it's her first time to work in Google Drive and all that techiness. So I have to be really be patient with her in terms of how to utilize those medium in order for us to collaborate effectively. So what are the solutions that I do? So solutions naman. First in challenge, slow network. You just upgrade the speed or warn clients or warn your teammates. Like for this, for example, I I told landscape architect Bruno that I may not be able to do this on real time because of the intermittent speed of internet here in Siargao. So, pero may solution naman. So now I'm doing this video for all of you. Um, and then no peak and off peak hours. When is the off peak and off peak hours? Sa gabi, I try to work. If I have to do research online, I have to do it at night when during the off peak hours of internet. So I just have to be aware of those things. And then when also when uploading drawings, if it's especially if it's a big amount of data, I try to anticipate how much data I would be uploading. So hindi ako pwedeng mag-upload ng last minute and then I'm uploading this file na 2 GB, 3 GB. Hindi pwede. So I have to give myself some time uh, para hi- uh, para hindi ko ma-miss yung deadline. So I have to anticipate those things very well because data, nowadays 1 GB is just nothing. It's just getting bigger and bigger. Next one, of course, lack of personal interaction, and which leads to miscommunication. Well, I don't rely too much on one medium. I'm keeping it fresh every day. I just don't rely on text or on just chat. A sweet voice call would actually be very good in order for you to establish that rapport or maintain that rapport between your clients, or you and your teammates. I remember recently I've lost winning a project because I think I've relied too much more on just doing emails and all. I did not I did not give a personal touch to my client. I think human interaction goes a long way. I think this is when the moment you speak is so much better than the moment you write. Um, and then whenever I based on my experience, whenever I write emails and stuff, it could be harsh or it could be very too straightforward for the other party. So what I would do is I try as much as possible to put my sweet voice um, into that email or alphanumeric message, whatever. And I think it goes a long way. That you may be straightforward, but you actually don't mean, it doesn't sound so harsh. And then, of course, you have tools. Uh, in order for you to communicate yourself very well, use tools like stylus or tablets that you can actually do comments on. Uh, Remember, the person on the other side of the line cannot read your your brain, your mind. So you have to do it at least graphically. You have I utilize what I do. I utilize Pinterest or PDFs with my comments, and at least there's something tangible for them to look on and to base their revisions on something. So hindi sila nanguhula. And then one of the challenges is response may take some time. What I do is with this, patience is a virtue. You really have to be patient. The I mean, I have to understand they have also their other concerns as well, as much as I do. I have other interests to attend to. It's not just my career. I also have my personal life. I have my fun time, my other businesses. So um, I have to understand as well that people may be doing something else in their houses while working from home. Uh, so but what I do, I explicitly express my deadlines and trust that they will be able to keep up with it. I don't micromanage. I let them. I just trust them. Basically, when you be able to earn their trust and vice versa, I think the job is just gonna go smooth sailing. Now, uh, in terms of the continuous updating of hardware and software, well, we can't do anything about it. It's you have to keep up with the times. So um, what I would do is rather than having a tablet from Android and Mac and so and other whatever operating system there available out there, I just keep everything under the working environment of the ecosystem of Apple. So I have my iPhone and then my tablet and then my Mac, and so it's easier for me to communicate in different devices using one ecosystem. I've told you that people may be not on the same level as techness as I have or other people may have. So we just have to be more. I just have to be more flexible in terms of how I deal with them. Make them understand, make them appreciate how you can easen up workload using these medium. And perhaps being flexible, I am very open to using other software as well. It keeps me learning every time. Well, what I see is the younger generations are more comfortable. Younger generations relatively to my age, they're more comfortable in executing things, advertising themselves, using the digital medium, and I think they're very effective with it. They win projects, they execute projects, simply because I think that's their normal. They're born into it, they've been trained to it, so it's just but natural for them to be able to use it as an effective. So I learn from them. Um so I think we should all do. I mean, whether you belong to whichever generation you belong to, anyway. So getting these new ideas, what I have to constantly constantly remind myself that I have to get out of the things I am accustomed, uh, and learn every day. Learn every time you see something new. Um, no matter how busy you are, but at least you try to learn something new. It keeps everything fresh. It keeps you motivated. It keeps you do what you do, and understand that the being a landscape architect or being any professional for that matter, um, it keeps you understand what you're supposed to do. It's not a matter of who gets the big designs out there, who wins the most project, who gives the best design. I think as a landscape architect, I think we should be motivated to make this place a better place to live in. With that note, I would like to thank you for your time, uh, for listening to my insights, to my experiences, and I hope you gain something from this message. Thank you very much, and good evening to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Davin. All the best for your projects. So, before we begin our question and answers, and for those who tuned in just now, again, this is New Rules of Engagement Remote Collaboration in Landscape Architecture Practice, a discussion organized by the Philippine Association of Landscape Architects and our partners, Cubesystem Builders, Icon Concepts Manila, Cypress Bomanite, Playpoint Philippines, and Vertigo. Okay, so now let's go to the questions from the audience. So first question, okay, so from Ismail nga, how do you handle the problems with local municipalities which might not have facilities for electronic submission? Okay, so what do you want? Anyone
Sure.
can answer. I guess Tak.
Yeah, I think, well, in Japan the situation is a little bit different, but I think that when they started online meeting for the first time, I was even helping them to set up uh, online meeting. I think the first time it was okay, and I think gradually they will learn how to use online tool. But I think now they are going back to the office again, and they are almost working as a normal situation. So I think I don't know exactly how to solve this electronic submission problem. But I think I'm hoping that they are um, adopting this technology gradually. But I think in Japan, it's just the beginning of how they try to use online tools and try to gradually adopting this technology. So it will take some time, but I'm hoping that some good municipalities will change to adopt this kind of way. But I'm just curious to know what other offices in other country or other municipalities and how you guys are doing. If you know any other people know.
Okay.
Maybe I can
Yeah.
add to
Okay. Do
that.
you like
Um,
go
this is
ahead?
interesting because uh, maybe I can show cite the Singapore example. Singapore is obviously a high tech city. Um, Everybody's online. Everybody is submitting online, and uh, in with regards to this question, right? Um, but here in Singapore, we submit electronically, but we still need to submit the hard copy as well. Um, and maybe because it's the default, we just have electronic submission because it's there. But if we don't have it, then maybe we can still go back to that. But of course, following what safety procedures that are need to be followed. Yeah, so I think it's still possible. But yeah.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
go old school
Yeah,
and hard to
like
get.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah, like in here, right? We submit, for example, a tender. You need to
Mm,
put in an envelope, just like how we do it, and then we
sure.
leave it on a box, and then
Yeah.
somebody will access it. Yeah, I think that's still possible.
To print out.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so next question is from Bo Peralta.
Belsky.
So,
Do.
Boski Peralta. So, do you think that working remotely will eventually open doors for project basis, contractual, or part time work options as a measure of decongesting our old cities, given of course that one adheres to the office's design signature. Okay, about you, Julius.
I
Okay. I think even before the pandemic, I have colleagues who's been working moms, who's been working as a casual contractual landscape architect. So whenever there's a project and we're short-handed with staffs, then the director calls them. It gives them flexibility because I think that's their also one of their requests because I don't know the personal life maybe they want to be hands-on with their family matters, kids. I don't know, but I think that's one of the. It depends on the arrangement as well. So of course the salary the will vary, the hours, the days of work will vary as well. So um, even before I think it's happening here in Australia. So I don't know in other practices in the world. So that's only my take.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah,
Julius. How about you, Ira?
yeah, just to add on to that thought, I think it would definitely open doors. Although, yeah, it's been happening, especially during this pandemic. People that were adamant or skeptic about working from home or would online collaboration work are now we already have proof that it works, and even large companies that aren't from design disciplines opted to continue working from home. So that's one of the what do you call this evidence that this remote working greatly benefits not just the company but also the client. So because it has lower overhead
Right.
costs, and the delivery is still there. We are still giving the output that the client wants. So at the end of the day, it's still a business, but we also have more channels to give out the ideas and the innovations that we could. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah,
Okay,
I think
thank you.
I also want to add to that, right? Because the question here is relating also to how do you actually decongest our old cities, and it relates to from a real estate point of view, and because she talks about the status of work, but also because offices right now, because of these, try to minimize the space, and maybe this is a way of, yeah, decongesting our old cities. And a lot of companies actually here in Singapore are doing that. The demand for office space is actually going down because of this COVID thing, and because most of the people are working from home. So yeah, I think this will really open doors on a lot of things, not only on the contractual or part timer, but also on from a real estate point of view, and it will eventually change the landscape of our cities in the next generation to come.
Yeah, I'm also wanted to add one thing about the streets in Japan. The previously we thought to have a big offices in central Tokyo location, but nobody wants to go there right now. So I think big office try to split the office floors or office location to multiple locations, and they I think the first company really try to locate offices and multiple locations so that they can easily access to the office location. I think next interesting thing is streets and roads. government decided to change the law to be able to have a more flexible use on the streets, so the shops and restaurant and they can use the street space to have a terraces, seating spaces and stuff like that for temporary. Actually, just for 6 months. But I'm hoping that that will drastically change the transportation and maybe less car on the roads in Japan. So that would be a big chance for us to have the streets activated. So I think I've known that my friends in America are working proactively on the proposal on the streets, helping restaurants and all shops and people to activate the streets. So I don't know about the situation in Manila, but I think it might be good to work proactively to as part of a transformation of the city. So maybe it's a good chance, an opportunity for us to do something. You know.
Yeah,
If
All
I
agree.
right,
add,
great.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it's also yeah, we were actually discussing this one time, me and one of the directors. If you can disperse your team. For example, you don't necessarily have your whole team in Manila. And then you can actually have a team in, say, Cebu, or another where connection is good. Uh, for you don't need a you may not need an actual physical office, or an office that's not that big. So it's also you can have a larger choice of talent, like what Dave said, can get from everywhere. But in another view of that, actually there are websites that are looking for part-time or freelancers who want to work on project basis, say a resident, and these are projects all over the world, and you can, in one of the websites I saw, you can actually you have to bid for that project and give them your portfolio and things like that. This is happening even during pre-COVID times. This is already not really common, but it's there.
Mm.
Okay, so thank you for your insights, and thank you for the people who asked questions, like from Ismail from Malaysia and Bo from the Philippines. So thank you for our speakers for your very insightful this very insightful discussion. So before we wrap up our program, we'd like to hear any final words or tips from each of you. Okay, so first,
Okay.
Byron.
Okay. I just want to say final words is that okay. I think for the most part, everything will really move into a highly virtual world of landscape architecture. But since our practice creates something that we need to experience, engagement with what we create is very important. Presence or existence in virtual conferences or remote collaborations or meetings is not really enough. Because at the end of the day, we are people, and as people, the thing that everyone wants is not only new technology, it's engagement. And the same kind of engagement that you'd have in real life, but better, faster, cheaper, and safer than it was before. So yeah, that's what my final words.
Thank you, Byron. So next, Julius, sorry,
Yes.
Julius.
Parting words. I think work from home could encourage more collaboration across geographic boundaries, not just in Australia but all over the world. And it also applies not only for landscape architects but for design professions as well. For global businesses, this could lead to meaningful collaboration between teams across different locations. Secondly, this demonstrates how we adapt to the changes. Um, it also means that recognizing each other persons has their own personal goals and thus different needs and circumstances. And lastly, on a personal level, as a landscape architect and a full-time father, remote collaboration allowed me greater flexibility with a young family to be home when they needed me, and yet I can still assist work. So I believe that this should be a key motivator for all, which is work-life balance. That's all.
Thank you, Julius. So next, Neil.
I think Julius and Byron has said a lot about you know, but the only thing is we also I think we saw in many offices we saw the a gap in terms of how we use technology. So we should just as professionals as landscape architect in order to service our clients and of course improve the way we do things. Also, we need to keep updating ourselves in how we do things. We can be old school, but we keep on top of things by looking at new technology that will help us do our work faster in a cost-effective manner. It will help your operations in your office, and it will also be beneficial for your clients. I think that's it.
Thank you, Neil. So next, Ira.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that we need to remind ourselves that is that the pandemic will end, but the remote collaboration would still go on. It doesn't mean that we would leave out the old or the traditional methods of communicating our ideas and delivering projects, but it just means that we all have to have our due diligence to keep up with the latest uh, tech or digital trends. And it's up to us to use these tools to create spaces, as we say, to change our lives, to change others' lives, and to create better lives for the next generation. In the end, it's all about working smarter and not working harder. Uh, it's all about that, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you, Ira. So of course, tack.
Yeah. So what I'm noticing lately is how important the place and neighborhood, like a local neighborhood you live near. I discovered that previously everyone in Japanese people are always heading to central Tokyo area, and they try to do something during the day and come back home, and they commute 1 or 2 hours, very long time. But now they don't have to do that, and they are really discovering like a local value, like a place to eat, a place to farm, a place to play. So I'm really thinking that maybe this is a good transition for our landscape architects. And before our good client was the very like a big company, and they have a lot of money and they have understanding of a larger project to make a fantastic product. But I think now it's becoming a little bit more smaller in the final scale. So maybe our client make change. And I'm hoping that Japanese landscape architect was really focusing on like a large project, large cities like Tokyo, Osaka, or other big cities. But I think in Japan there are lots to do in very small cities and local conditions. So this pandemic, I think it will probably change our way of working. And I hope that, like Neil said, more smaller professional landscape architects could work in a very flexible way and maybe activate the local value and to create a very small, nice, fine places. And I think that kind of if that kind of change happen, I think our landscape architects profession will change a little bit different. And I think still our central issue is to create the public open spaces to have a better life and healthier and livable cities. But I think that each country, I think today was very interesting to notice that different people working in different countries and they have a different issues. So there's a lot of things
Mm.
common, but there are a lot of things different. And I'm really thankful that I could learn a lot in such a short time. I'm really hoping that we can kind of like keep in touch and exchange information so that there's something that common that we can tackle for the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Tak.
Thank you.
We're also grateful that you joined us today. So again, thank you for all our speakers, Byron, Julius, Neil, Ira, Tak. So at this point, we'd like to introduce our PALA president, Napi Navarra, for his closing remarks. Hi, Napi.
Thanks, Pam. Yes. Um, as landscape architects, we've been trained mainly as, how to become good communicators. And one way to do it, what we're used to is being very visual, very tactile. We have to be on site when we want to feel the need of our intervention. But this pandemic has actually highlighted that missing interaction that we have been used to. But we can also take this pandemic as an opportunity to rediscover these connections that we have among ourselves, and in terms of what the technology can offer to us in our practice. So I feel that this kind of platforms that we are using right now is actually our way of reconnecting, of engaging other landscape architects from various time zones, from different places, geographic area, and so that we could come up with a better solution collectively. I I would like to thank everyone, our members, the young ones, Ira, Byron, okay, Julius also, Neil, who's based in Singapore. Thank you very much. Yes, young one also, Neil. So okay, and of course, to Professor Takuoka, chair of the IFLA APR Professional Practice and Policy Committee. I hope that we'll be working soon, especially with Pam Pagana here, who is also a member of the PPP committee. So I hope that Pala and IFLA APR and JLO can work together to improve the professional practice here in our region and in our respective countries. And I'd like also to thank other members of the APR community um, for their support. I saw former Ilang President Islam Nang, and of course, I saw some of our friends from Indonesia who are tuning in, and would like to thank everyone for supporting Pala in this attempt to to make sense of what's happening and to come out stronger as an organization, as individual professionals, and as part of the committee of IFLA APR. So thank you very much. And also to our sponsors who are, still supporting the organization and its events, especially as PALA celebrates its Philippine Landscape Architecture Month. So we have lined up some activities, including this webinar, so that we could continue the life of the organization and of everyone's lives, to have a sense of continuity while at the same time foster the sense of community that we have known as Pala. So again, on behalf of the Pala board, James, Pam, also Ross, Joshua, and Hannah and Ross. So we'd like to thank everyone for joining us this evening. So I think that's it for me, and I hope that I will see you soon, especially with these exciting events coming, and developed by a committee headed by Halls Abu, for as part of the Philippine Landscape Architecture Month. So Pam, I think we could thank again our sponsors. Thank you.
Okay. Sige. Thank you, Napi. So again, thank you to our sponsors, Cube System Builders, Icon Concepts Manila, Playpoint Philippines, Cypress Bomanite, and Vertigo. So before we close, we'd like to call on Lars Adriatico to invite everyone to another big Pala event that's happening this October.
So, hello, living things and unliving things out there. By the way, this is Lars Adriatica, and I will be hosting the whole week event together with the one and only Miss Seika Cabanero for the first ever online palakasan on October 3rd, this coming Saturday. And on behalf of Palakasan Committee, we would like to invite you all to join us and witness the games that we prepared just for you guys to this year's Palakasan. Like we have a Filipino version of Amazing Race, we have Wheel of Fortune, my favorite, the Lip Sync Battle. We have also Jeopardy, Mobile Legends, Call of Duty, chess, Pictionary, four picks one word, gibberish, and the most awaited Mr. and Miss Palakasan 2020, and other more exciting games. So stay tuned. So for more updates and announcement, kind of visit and like our page, our official Facebook page, which is Palakasan, Palakasa, Palakasan. Once again, this is Lars Adriatica, and I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, Lars. So again, this webinar is brought to you by Pala in partnership with Cube System Builders, Icon Concepts Manila, Cypress Bomanite, Playpoint Philippines, and Vertigo. And everyone, again, we have a raffle prizes in store for you. So just tune in or look at our post in our Pala Facebook page for the mechanics. And until midnight, we'll be getting the winners. So we'll announce it by tomorrow, I guess. So wait for the post in our Pala page. So thank you very much to our viewers in Facebook and YouTube for being part of the discussion. We hope tonight's earnings will help everyone adapt to the challenges of these times and inspire us to continue creating for a better normal. So let us all remember that this pandemic nor any challenges should not stop us from learning, striving to be better, and that there will always be a way to continue and move forward. So good night, everyone, and stay safe.